进行的第二所学校是 Groton 这所学校。那么 Groton 呢也是来自麻省的一所学校哈，寄宿学校。那么大家对它也都是非常熟悉了哈。那么接下来我就邀请一下我们今天的讲座嘉宾。Hi Jimmy, good evening.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I apologize for my bland background here. I'm on duty in my dormitory study hall, so you may see a couple of kids walking behind me. But greetings from Groton.
Okay, yeah, I think it's good. So you can just, it will be good for you just continue talking, and then
Totally
we don't want to stop your flow. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Well, let me try sharing screen here. Oh, wait a minute. Right.
Yes.
I apologize for this. You're not going to get the full version of this, but I'm pleased to tell you a little bit about Groton School. First, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been here for 13 years. I'm director of admission here at Groton, and came from a school in New Hampshire called Cardigan Mountain Junior School, where I was director of placement. So I've visited something like 130 different schools around this country. And wound up following my son to Groton. He came here as a student, and I came as a faculty member 2 years later. It's a pretty remarkable school in that it is one of America's best for sure, but it's also a small size school. So where the top most elite schools in the U.S. are mostly places like Exeter, Andover, places like that are 1,000 students, maybe 800 students, we stay small at only about 380 kids. We also are a little younger than them. We don't allow postgraduates, kids who have already graduated high school and are kind of doing a gap year before college. And we have an 8th grade, a small 8th grade. So our kids join in either 8th, 9th, 10th, or a handful in 11. We have kids starting at all of those entry points. Groton is about an hour outside of Boston. Beautiful green campus, lots of trees, about 450 acres of land, and a compact campus in the middle of about 500 acres of land. Lovely space and beautiful rural community, but with a major city of Boston right nearby, major international airport to make it convenient to come in and out. I don't think facts are the best way to get to know a school, but a few facts about us. This year, 378 kids, 85% boarding, right around 10% in international, a little shy of that, about 46% students of color, 25 countries, 27 states, and a very generous financial aid budget that has over 40% of the kids receiving some help from us, and a financial aid budget of about $7 million. We are able, given that budget, to make every decision in admissions based on the kids and not their ability to pay. So we never have to turn a kid down due to family's financial circumstances. We just can, we have the liberty to take the best kids who are applying each year. School is led by a very charismatic headmaster, Temba Makubela, who grew up in South Africa. His family was close friends with Nelson Mandela. And in arriving at Groton School, he and his wife have really helped to transform the campus in terms of diversity and inclusion, with the central thing being that we've always had pretty good numbers in terms of diversity, but he wanted to make sure that every person's experience was identical, whether somebody is a very wealthy family or somebody is coming from a poor family, that they have access to the same programs of international travel, all of those sorts of things, and that they are heard and valued in this community. So that's been central to his administration. The other thing has been stabilizing costs here. When he got here, we were the most expensive prep school. We are now the least expensive prep school of all of our peer schools. He did that by freezing tuition over a period of 4 years and doing only incremental, like 0.5% increase in the other years, so that we became much more competitive in terms of value. One thing he told the teachers when he was applying was that he would not come and take the job if he couldn't continue to teach. So he is the teacher of our most advanced chemistry classes. He teaches organic and environmental chemistry at a very high level, equivalent to what you'd see at the college level. And they are available as electives for kids in the junior and senior year who have already taken advanced chemistry, probably at the AP level. But he loves that part of his day, escaping from his office and going up to work with the kids. His wife teaches as well. She is in charge of teaching English to all the 8th graders to help them get a firm foundation in how to write effectively. The two of them open their house every Thursday night to invite in the seniors and one other class. Tonight it was the seniors and the 8th graders who would join them for some treats and maybe challenge Mr. Macabella in ping pong or play some board games and have a nice time with the first couple of Groton on Thursday evenings. It's a very diverse student body, as I pointed out earlier, kids from all over the globe. And that really is the greatest strength of this community. I mean, of course, we've got marvelous facilities, we've got a strong faculty, but it is the kids that make this school what it is. And I would say common threads amongst them, again, a diverse bunch, but they're all very hardworking. They're all very talented. And what we're looking for in the admissions office is a blend of talents that's going to make this school a better place to be for everybody. It's a great place for mentorship, where students interact with faculty on a very close basis. It's a great place where students will seek the assistance of their advisor in troubleshooting things to help them do better here, and where they'll also be influenced by peers. We believe strongly in the value of athletics to bolster spirit on campus, but also as a great way to be supportive of each other. Our teams play in the ISL League, which is a very competitive athletic league focused around the Boston area. One of the things that's most central to the Groton experience is just who you're surrounded by. I think, as I said, the kids are our most valuable asset here. And that's because you're influenced more by peers than you are by anybody else. And so if you're going to be surrounded by 379 awesome kids, hardworking like yourselves, talented, it's going to be a great experience for you over your 2, 3, 4, or 5 years on campus, as you will have role models all around you who help elevate your game. I want to tell you a little bit about the academic program here. Well, I'll talk about the kind of a day in the life here. We start most days in our school chapel. It's a glorious structure. We don't require that anyone who comes here believe in any specific religion, but we do believe that many of the world's great religions have something to tell us about being good to your neighbor, being respectful, those kinds of good habits. So we do start the school day 4 days a week in the chapel. The primary focus of it is a speech by one of the seniors. They're each invited to give an address about something really important to them. And most will be talking about something that turns out to be a valuable lesson for everyone there. Something about a burden that they have overcome, or a especially close relationship they have with a relative or something like that. And so everyone in the chapel will get to know something a little more in depth about the student speaker, and hopefully a lesson that will help them in school life. After chapel, we head over to the main academic building. Our schedule is 5 periods long. We do have classes 5 days a week. 6 days a week, with half days on Wednesday and Saturday. But the class day is 2 short periods to start the day, 45 minutes in length. Then a mid-morning conference period where you can talk to your teachers or your advisor or just hang out with friends. And then the last 3 periods of the day are flex blocks, which are a base of 45 minutes with a half an hour attached to that. If you want to do more in-depth study, like a science lab or an art studio, you have an hour and 15 minutes in those flex blocks to really dive into a course each day. Most of the classes are taught in kind of a conference table form, about 11, maybe 12 kids around a conference table with an instructor. But we believe that teachers ought to have the autonomy to deliver the class the way that best suits them and the material. So there's some classes that are taught in a lecture format. Some are taught in small groups. Some are taught in project-based learning. But we want you to be ready for the various modalities that exist at the college level. And so teaching in just one fashion might not prepare you for a collegiate lecture, that sort of thing. We love to see kids out of their chairs in classrooms, actively learning. In a math class, you'll see people up writing on the walls, writing on the boards, just up, sort of fully engaged in the class rather than just sitting at their desks. We do offer a level of class called tutorial to seniors, where you study one-on-one with the teacher. You have to come up with a course description. For most kids, it's a class that they, maybe they took a physics class and they want to dive deeper into particle physics, say. They might approach the teacher and say, could we spend a full trimester on this? And the student designs the course, and then the teacher will help them execute it as an independent study project. We do have a full wood shop on campus. A lot of the kids like to get in there as their art outlet and create some beautiful furniture that will become, part of their lives forever. One of my advisees a couple of years ago made a full-size dining table. The only problem with it, it didn't fit in his parents' car at the end of the year, so they had to go rent a truck to get it back to his home. But kids love the wood shop, and with all of the art studios too, you have access to them whenever you have free time. So you can go in there and do a little art therapy, if you will. On Sunday, the studio is open. Kids can go in and spend the whole day there if they would like to spend the day painting or drawing or whatever it is. Lots of elective classes are offered. One of the things here at Groton, as a smaller school, we know that we have to offer a lot of electives to match the thick course catalogs you'll see at Exeter and Andover. And so most of our teachers will teach 3 core classes, and then their 4th class, if you will, is made up of term electives. So they might be presenting a specific author in an English class, or a specific time period in a history class, rather than a general survey class. During the middle of the morning, there's a break where you can meet with your advisor, go get a snack. Sometimes there's a fun meeting where you can get announcements for the weekend, celebration of birthdays that are coming up. You can go check your mail. All that kind of stuff happens in the middle of the morning. And then lunch is built into every day, of course. The dining hall got a beautiful renovation 2 years ago. Locally sourced food as much as possible, and the dining hall is open usually a full hour at breakfast, 2 hours at lunch, 2 hours at dinner, so you can go in whenever you'd like to. Most of the kids will take advantage of that, going in and really hanging out for quite a while, enjoying some downtime with their buddies over a meal. There's plenty of places in the main building to study during the day, so a combination of an academic center that has classrooms, but a big library and lots of study nooks where kids can get work done between their classes. The library is not so much a quiet library. It's an active place. You'll see kids playing chess in there, playing Go, backgammon, doing some work too. But there's a lot of fun going on in there, lots of conversations. It's kind of a fun place to de-stress between class periods. Music is woven into the academic day. You can be in one of our main ensembles, jazz band, orchestra, or choir. You can also take private lessons within the academic day that are taken for a partial credit. We have 26 part-time teachers in the music department who can give lessons in really any instrument you can imagine. I've seen bagpipes, I've seen didgeridoo, harp, all kinds of stuff that's done as part of the academic day. Our main ensembles, jazz, orchestra, and choir, tour internationally on a 3-year rotational basis. So last summer, the jazz band was in Japan. This coming summer, the orchestra is going to Italy and Austria in the summer. And so that's an exciting part of the experience for all the kids. Generally, during their time here, they'll be able to take one of those international tours, fully supported by financial aid. And so if there's somebody who wants to go, and it's going to be hard for the family to afford it, the school will absolutely pick up the tab for that. And really for anything else, music lessons. If you want to try hockey and you can't afford the equipment, your parents can't afford the equipment, we will pick up the equipment for you. We don't want anyone to be limited in anything by family resources. Afternoon, most of the kids are involved in sports, although you can also do community service, you can do dance, you can do theater, but we have virtually every sport you can imagine. It's easier to list the ones we don't have. We don't have wrestling, we don't have water polo, we don't have fencing, we don't have golf, but beyond that, pretty much every sport. Most competitive right now, our top teams are boys and girls tennis, but but the other sports are all very competitive as well. The ISL is a strong league, and it's nice and compact, so that our long road trips are maybe an hour and a half on a weekend, and then most of our games are a half hour, 45 minutes away. So it's nice and easy to get to games without taking up all of your day. Our kids, it's kind of a blend of talent here. There's some kids who are really talented athletes. Best player on our volleyball team, for example, is going to Harvard to continue her volleyball. But then there's a lot of kids who do it just for fun. And so these kids are sort of side by side in what they're doing here. Some kids who are really intense athletes who want to take it to the next level, and some kids who are a lot more chill and just want to do something for some exercise in the afternoon. Our theater program is quite strong. We've got a gorgeous theater facility, and two people who are sort of the cornerstones of it. Ms. Sales is kind of the on-stage director, and her husband, Mr. Belknap, is in charge of light, sound, set creation, everything like that. Typically a drama in the fall and a musical in the winter. And then in the spring, it's a one-act play festival. And so those are usually plays that have been written by students and then obviously produced and acted by students. Those are a lot of fun to participate in for the kids. And it's a time when lots of kids will, since it's a smaller commitment of time in the spring, you'll see a lot of kids try out for those just to sort of see what life is like in the theater. Service also is an afternoon activity. Kids will go and help out at a local elementary school with tutoring or after school activities. And you can also go help out at a senior center, helping, just companionship for some of the older folks in the area. One thing I love about Groton School is that you'll see side by side on the stage somebody, when my son was here, he wanted to try acting. So he signed up just for the heck of it and wound up getting a good role. The co-lead in the play with him his senior year was a woman who had spent her whole life in the theater. Her father is a Broadway producer, and she now holds degrees in theater from Yale and Juilliard. So she was a total drama star. And Nick was just trying it for the heck of it. And I love the fact that they were together on stage, but you see the same thing on the football team, somebody who's been doing it since he was 5 or 6 years old, and somebody who's just trying it for fun. And the same thing in choir, all over campus. The other thing I love about Groton is, as a smaller school, you don't necessarily have to wait your turn. We've seen kids play, start on varsity teams as 8th graders. When I first got here, the concertmaster of the orchestra was a 9th grade girl. So if you're good enough, you do not have to wait until you're a junior, senior for an opportunity. You can jump right in at a high level as soon as you get here, because as a smaller spot, we need contributors. Around the dinner hour, lots of free time. It's about 2.5 or 3 hours between sports and study hall. Lots of clubs take place at that point. Lots of just kind of hang out, chill time with your friends. On Thursday nights, as I mentioned, Mr. Macabella has parlor at his house, and that's just wrapping up at this point with the seniors. The clubs that take place around the dinner hour, incredibly varied. You can do all kinds of things, from serious stuff like debate society or Model United Nations or anything like that, school paper, to different affinity groups, to some just kind of fun chess club, that kind of thing. If there's something that you're passionate about that we don't have a club in, Mr. Leroy will help you get it started and has a budget to help you with purchase of materials to allow your club to sail. In the evenings, study halls are a little bit different depending on what grade you're in. Our youngest kids, as you might imagine, have the most structured evening in the main study hall over in the school building. And then 9th graders are in their own rooms, but tightly supervised. They've got a faculty member on duty making sure they're working. And then with each year, 10th graders have to be in their room for study hall, but it's a little more chill. And then 11th and 12th graders can roam around campus, study in each other's rooms, can study over in the main building, because we hope that you will absorb the structure when you're younger, assimilate it, and be able to utilize it for success. Because let's face it, when you get to college, there's no structure. And so you need to have adopted those systems that allow you to be successful when you're a younger student here. And hopefully it seems to work because our kids continue to do well even when there's less structure here, and they do fabulously in college when there's no structure to support them. At the end of study hall, many nights there's a little party in the dorm. There's a celebration or ceremony called check-in, where you get together, share stories of the day, give everyone a big handshake or hug to sort of signal the end of the day. And often the dorm parent on duty will have a snack to share with the kids to cap the day. I've got a bunch of ice cream sandwiches over in the freezer here that I'll be sharing with kids when they wrap up their study hall. And then that's the end of the day, and you pack it in, have a good night's sleep, and then do it all again. I don't know how much time we have. A couple other programs here. We have a program called Grace, which takes place between freshman and sophomore year, that allows you to either, it's totally optional, but if you want to get a little bit of extra help over the summer to strengthen your math skills or your writing skills, you can do that. Or if you want to come and accelerate, you can take a full year chem class, for example, in 5 weeks, so you can skip ahead to AP chemistry. So that takes place during the month of July in the summer here. We also have programs called GEOs that allow you to explore the world. GEOs are global education opportunities, and we have them for music, as I mentioned earlier, traveling internationally. We have them occasionally for athletics, where our rowing team might go to England for international competition, that sort of thing. We have them for languages, like, for example, our classics program might go to Rome or Athens to explore those sites. But the core of the GEOs is just going to remote areas of the world to find out what life is like for people who live in the high Andes mountains or in Bali or in Africa, and really kind of assimilate with people in villages and get to know what life is like for other people in this world. One thing that we want to look back at as we get to the end of the line here, graduation ceremony, we want to make sure that kids have certainly picked up the skills to be successful in college, but we also want to make sure that they have picked up the understanding that the world is much bigger than themselves, and they have a responsibility to look after people besides themselves, whether it's helping in their communities or in their countries, making this world a better place through their actions. Our kids go off to a wonderful set of colleges. As you might imagine, the most sought after colleges are Ivy League schools, Stanford, Georgetown, University of Chicago, places like that. Probably, the top 40% or so are getting those sort of most prestigious class placements. But that's, you sort of expect that. We're taking really talented kids. They're working hard here, so they ought to be going to good schools out the other side. I'm often asked what sort of kids we're looking for, and it's hard to give a simple answer on that, because we're not looking for one specific type of kid. We're looking for a huge variety of kids that's going to make this an interesting place to be a part of. But the common factors between kids, they're typically good kids, nice, friendly, good to have around. They're typically hardworking, determined kids, kids who want to put forth their best work. But they come from all kinds of backgrounds: public school, private school, home school. They head off to different kinds of colleges, small liberal arts schools, large universities, service academies. But we really want to make sure that the kids who are coming in here have the capability of doing work at a high level and just being nice people to have around. So that's a lot of words I've fired at you. I will say that at graduation, if I can see a kid walk across the stage and say, that kid got a lot out in coming to Groton, and at the same time, Groton got a lot out of that kid having come here, that's kind of a perfect admit. We want to bring in kids who are capable of really excelling and capable of contributing to the place in a way that makes it a better school for everybody. So that is it. And I'm sorry for the lack of slides. If you go to our website, you can see tons of nice pictures of the school that hopefully can augment what we've already been talking about.
Thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, it's okay. Definitely all the parents can, like do more research on your website. I know there are videos, photos. Definitely they could get more visual, visual kind of image about Groton. And also, this year, the travel ban is lifted early this year. So definitely, we encourage all the international families to travel here if they could, really to see the campus, to talk to your team. I think that would be the best.
I absolutely agree. I just got back from a week and a half in China, doing this presentation with actual slides in Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, and then we wrapped up in Korea afterwards. But I saw a lot of people there, most of whom said they are planning to come over for formal visits. So we'd love to have you come to campus and take a real look at the campus. I think the biggest thing, I mean, yes, nice facilities, all that, but it's seeing the kids and hearing what the kids have to say. Our kids work hard, but they're happy here. And so there's no better presenter of our school than our own students. So in any case, I hope to see you here on campus where we can tell you more about it. But I've got time. I don't know what we've got for total time. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have in the next few minutes.
We still have about 10 minutes, so that's okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, sure. I see, some parents are sending the, message there. Let me just, try to find some questions, maybe, which is not covered by the presentation. While I going through the questions, I wanted to hear from you. You mentioned you have been, working at Groton for over a decade. What is your best part of, what is your best experience there in the community?
Well, this may resonate with parents, but as I mentioned, I followed my son down here, and I've had lots of great moments, but it was really kind of cool to see my son's experience. In particular, when he tried the theater, he'd never done it before. And his first time in a play, he had 5 roles and a total of 3 lines. And it was fun, he was up there having a good time. And then the next year when he was the lead, it was so much fun watching the response of his friends. And so I went to the opening night, and when he got that standing ovation and stuff, and I was just kind of overcome as a parent to see he had taken a big risk in doing this and seeing it pay off. It was just totally cool. But I've seen lots of things like that for different advisees. When an advisee scores a key goal in a lacrosse game or something like that, I just take, it's wonderful to see kids make progress, to grow, and just to watch vicariously that achievement of kids I've worked hard with is just a blast to see.
Well, yes, I think that's kind of like, the sense of achievement, right? See the kids be happy and really learn and grow in a small community, and just each other, influence each other positively. Because I really like what you shared about, you talked about the very generous financial aid, and also how the school try to freeze the tuition, not increase the tuition. I can tell it's, I visited, and I can really feel, Groton is really caring, humble, school. I think that's where, all the students can really learn to, live through your missions, right? To inspire each other, to build up a character. And even you mentioned a lot of community service, opportunity, going to different country, neighborhood to try to help others. I think that's kind of very impressive.
Yeah, and leadership is big here too. And it's funny, it's not really taught, it's observed. And so many of our kids, like the biggest honor for seniors is to go do their prefect duty in the lower school dorms. And that's usually, they were impacted by a prefect when they were younger. And they're like, I want to go back and do that someday and kind of pay it back to the next generation of kids. So the kids are very observant. They're watching, who are the good leaders? What are their traits? And then absorbing that so that they can return the favor when they take those leadership positions.
Yeah. So I know like at Groton, the international student or kind of percentage is not very high, like less than 10, right? So I don't know how much, Chinese student there, and also like this is kind of like a pretty low rate. I don't know if there's a reason behind it or like, yeah.
There's no huge reason behind it. It depends, the percentage depends on whether you count by passport or by residence. And so it's around 10%-ish. It's a little lower than that if it's by passport. For some reason, we have a lot of kids, international kids, who hold US passports. Maybe kids were born while dad was studying it for an MBA at Harvard, something like that. I think what it boils down to, as we're making our assessments about, the kids we're going to admit, yes, we're looking for smart kids for sure, but we're also looking to fill sort of key strategic positions based on talent. And so whether it is an athletic talent or a musical talent or debating or newspaper, we're looking for kids whose resumes have elements in them that are going to help us fill various positions on campus. And so ultimately we don't have any kind of limiter on international kids, but we're just taking the kids that different program heads say, I need 6 new sopranos, and I need this, and I need this. And so we've got sort of a shopping list from program heads that we are working to fill with really bright kids.
Yeah, that's right. I totally agree. Like you mentioned about how, the community, students coming from a different background, talents, and they all, study together. I think that is, like a very good, like environment, community, right? For the student to really learn from each other. I think that is really, for particular and any student, and not just international student, international student, but also domestic student as well, right? They're able to really experience, have this unique experience, in high school. I think that's pretty unique. So I know like one parent asked about like a kind of a question related to admission. You mentioned like you usually have a like 8th grade and 9th grade and a 10th grade. So I know some parents probably wanted to get a sense of usually particularly this year, how many I understand you just mentioned Groton is not going to put a quota on certain student from certain geographic location, but you need to mix the student. So but is there a kind of like a average or like expected number for a student from China this year?
We don't set any numbers, but I would say in general, we would probably accept, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 kids from China, expecting that we might get 6 or 8 of them, because some of them are going to go to Andover or St. Paul's or whatever. We're not going to get them all. So we'll accept a few more than we, and then sort of expect we'll get our share, but not all of them.
Okay, sure. So it's basically in the end, it should be 6 to 8 students.
Yeah, probably something like that. But again, this past year, for example, in grade 8, there were a lot of great kids from, if you combine Hong Kong and China, just some great kids. So more than usual, the percentage of kids in grade 8 is higher from Asia this year than typical, just because that's where the best kids were. So
yeah, I see. So for 8th grade, I think there's like how many space in total? Not just talking about.
Total spaces in 8 are about 25, 26, and those are all going to be new. In 9, it goes up to about 80. And so about, say, 55, something like that. And then for 10, it goes up to about 90. So maybe another 10 or 12 kids in grade 10, and then maybe 2 or 3 new ones in 11, something like that.
Okay, sure. Let me see if we have other questions. Training. Yeah, there's a question about offering professional sports training. I guess like if you are in the sports team, you could get very special, like a professional sports training.
Yeah, what I will say is there are some kids like mostly in individual sports, like say squash or tennis, where they might get some additional lessons beyond
Okay.
what is provided here. But yeah, the caliber of tennis or squash or whatever that they'll be playing is is very high level. I mean, the coaches here are very strong. There are some kids who will, in addition to playing for Groton, will maintain connections with club sport networks. So for example, there'll be, I don't know how many girls on our varsity soccer team, but say it's 20 on the team, and maybe 8 of them or so are playing club soccer outside of school in addition. If they're really serious about it, there's no expectation of that, but as long as they are meeting their Groton commitments, we're generally fairly flexible about them doing some additional work athletically.
Okay. You mentioned if a student really need, additional training, it could happen on campus. Will that be additional, fee for the family, or usually it's
Yeah,
arranged?
anything like that is typically contracted by the family. If they wanted additional squash instruction. Our coaches can't do anything out of season. It's against league rules. So they'd have to get somebody from outside to come in. Mostly, honestly, what our kids who play squash do is they will just play with each other, meet each other after soccer practice, and then play squash for an hour. You want to say anything in Chinese to these folks, Zemo?
Hi.
This is, we're just doing a little webinar. This is one of my advisees, Zemo, from Beijing.
You want to say something Chinese?
Yes, be friendly, be your friendly self.
Both of them are from China.
I can say ni hao. That's not.
我跟你往前 say， 这个老师人很好，我很爱他。
Yeah.
Susie.
He said you are excellent, and he loves.
He's the best. Yeah, he went to Rumsey Hall before coming here, so he had American pre-prep. But super nice kid, straight A student, great guy.
Well, wonderful. I know, like we are kind of, running out of the time. I think we covered most of the questions from the meeting chat. Definitely this is a very thorough, presentation, really highlight who Groton is. I hope any, of the family who are listening, hope they use this opportunity to really learn more about Groton, and, hope they will be, have a good luck this year. But I know, it's very competitive, but it definitely is a great school, where the student really work hard to try their chance, and yeah.
Very nice to say that. I want to tell you a quick story about Lilia, since she works with you guys now.
Yeah, sure.
I remember when we were reading her application, my colleague in the next office was reviewing her application and let out a shriek. And it's like, oh my God, you got to come in here and listen to this. And Lilius was singing a piece from the musical Wicked, and it was so amazing. She's so talented that we just decided to accept her right on the spot. I mean, she's super smart, but what a talented singer and actress. You've got a phenomenal person working with you. She was one of our absolute best.
Yeah, we all love her. She definitely represents all the, I think like, she, I wouldn't see like, I think we can tell the difference if someone is really going through certain type of education, the quality, and really, the thing they learn from, those, like a educational institution like a Groton. It's impressive. I think you know that's why we feel this year we have to like ask you to join us again to share this wonderful community to everyone. But thank you for your time.
Okay. My pleasure.
It's pretty late.
And next time I will try to have slides that work. It really is a beautiful place. Take my word for it. But I hope you'll come and see how beautiful it is.
Yeah, definitely. We'll encourage all our parents and students to visit. Thank you for your time.
Very good. Bye-bye, everybody.
Yeah, keep it in touch. Bye. 非常感谢Groton 的招办主任跟我们做的一个分享哈，能够看得出来学校的确是一个非常优秀的学校。那当然竞争也是非常非常激烈的哈。刚刚在结束的时候，Jimmy 也讲，我们有一个就是申请的，我们 K12 这边的顾问老师是 Groton 毕业的哈。的确是呢，学校是一所非常非常优秀的学校。也是就是欢迎对于这个学校比较感兴趣的家庭呢。也可以就是能够去学校这边来去进行参观。如果你们对学校有就是一些问题的话呢，也可以咨询我们的团队老师。